And thanks for joining us today. We're going to be ambitious today and try to walk through command and control with you. I've got David Moore, one of our top dealers, with us today, who's going to assist me. David was with us last week when we had Johnny York, national trainer for Residio, former operations executive for SafeStreets. David helped last week with that, and he's been spending some time this week trying to get up to speed, as have I. And so today we want to take a shot at giving you a first look at what we know about command and control. I will encourage you and say that there's a lot of information out there. ADT's put some really good videos on YouTube, but we wanted to try to see if we could bring this in and focus it for you a little bit and talk to you as a sales organization about what's coming and what you need to know about this new panel. We will be getting with you very shortly with a rollout schedule to let you know when you can start selling this and have confidence that 100% it will get installed. Our installation team is still working towards that. So we've got to get a rollout schedule for the dealers on the call. We still need to get you pricing. It will be comparable, is what I'm being told, but that pricing has not yet been settled, so we need to get that for you. And we also, I guess, Ian, what else do we need? I think those are the main things that you're still waiting for from us, is a rollout schedule and pricing. Also, we need to get the monitoring plans and the specifics around those. So we still got some unanswered questions, but what we do have is the product and the platform. Command is the new product by Honeywell. Control is the Alarm.com platform, which is the application that you'll use either through the portal or through the mobile device. And so we do have those, and so we want to go ahead and start talking with you about this in hopes that we can help answer some of your questions and start getting you prepared. We still have to sell Pulse, and we still have to sell, the existing panels that we have. So by all means, keep doing that. But we do want to start getting you educated on this. If this records correctly, we'll make a YouTube video out of today's presentation, and we'll put that up on the SafeStreets dealer YouTube channel. Hopefully everybody on the call is subscribed to that channel. But you just need to go to YouTube, and we'll let you know once it's up there. We'll probably send a link out to everybody. But that'll at least give you and maybe representatives in your organization something that you can start working with. We will refine this presentation and probably redo it a couple of times as more information becomes available. And as we answer, and get answers to questions I'm sure you're going to ask that we haven't thought about today. So let's get started here. Command and control. So I went to ADT's, playbook and gathered some information that they've used to train their sales force. And one of the first things they talk about, I love this first paragraph, because ADT has had the sole mission of helping keep people, homes, and businesses safe since 1874. The company pairs advanced security technology with rigorous product testing to bring customers the highest quality systems. ADT provides customers with, and you folks all know these next 4 bullet points here, but what I think is really significant about this is that, we've been in business for 140 years, and whenever ADT comes out with something, they may not be always the first to bring it to market, but when it comes out, it has been tested rigorously and it works. And so that's one of the things that I think, our customers need to be reminded of, is that everything ADT does is high quality. The command system places security first, not as an add-on. There's a lot of systems, particularly in the do-it-yourself space now, that almost treat security like an add-on. ADT has and will always put security first. The control and the video services, the home control video services, they're going to be excellent, but they are always an addition to security, which is always first for ADT. Okay, so now from a customer experience, some bullet points about the new customer experience. The ADT Control app will allow the automations to provide opportunities to help simplify life, help save energy, and enhance security assistance. I'm reading that to you because I think it's very well written, and I think it's the kind of language that we need to teach our sales organization when we're first talking to people. But simplifying life, saving energy, enhancing security assistance, those are all phrases that have a lot of power to them. As you already know, that we'll be able to have the ability to remotely arm and disarm our panels. We'll be able to receive arming notifications. You're going to hear us talk about rules today. What is a rule? A rule is simply an if-then statement. If this happens, then this happens. So it's a conditional type setup that we can set up in the control platform to be able to have rules that will generate certain automations. A scene, when you hear that term, a scene is really just a group of rules. Like an example of a scene might be movie night. When you hit movie night, the lights dim, the television comes on, and the air conditioning goes down a degree or two. That's an example of some rules that could be built into a scene. Vacation is an example of a scene. What do you want to have happen there? So scenes just allow our customers to be able to be very efficient in terms of creating, utilizing all the automation equipment we have in their house. Schedules allow us to obviously schedule things such as when lights turn on and off and things of that nature. And then one of the new features that we've not had before is called geo services. With geo services, you're able to take your phone and you're able to register it, and wherever your phone is, you're able to create geo fences so that once you leave those particular areas, whether that's a geo fence around your house, around your office, around your kid's school, things can happen. We can build rules around the geo services, and we'll be taking a look at that today. Remote interactive management of locks, lights, garage door, and security camera management. We've had that with Pulse, right? But you're going to see today that we're going to have enhancements that we didn't have with Pulse that are going to take it to the next level. Okay? Also from a customer service, here's 3 key ideas. Easy to change service plans and devices. When ADT designed Command, they designed it such that people would be able to easily change their monitoring plans or easily add devices as new devices become available. It's designed such that customers don't necessarily need service calls, okay, because so much of what can happen, ADT can actually interact with the individual panels. Improved remote diagnostics, so ADT gets information about what's going on with your panel and can help fix things without, again, having to roll a truck for service. Automatic updates, firmware updates, these will happen automatically over the air. You'll hear that term OTA, but ADT is able to send updates and patches to our customers without actually having to send somebody out to do something at the alarm panel. So these are things that we're seeing in so many of the technologies we interact with today, and ADT has just now future-proofed our systems so that these will be things that our customers can enjoy as part of their experience going forward. Now, some of the safety and security enhancements you're going to see is that there's a LTE cell technology. And in fact, there's 5 communication networks built into the panel. But primary will be cell technology with the 24-hour battery backup. You're also going to have a secondary broadband communication enhancement, which allows for dual paths. So primary will always be cellular, but there will also be a broadband as a backup, assuming the customer has that. So we're going to be able to have a dual path communication enhancement, which just allows even that much more protection for our customers. Two-way encryption for communication between the ADT Command panel and the new 6 devices. 6 is a technology that basically does 2 things for our customers. It improves the security, in other words, it reduces the chance of being hacked, but at the same time, it improves the panel performance. You're going to see today that we have much greater range with our panels to their actual field devices than what we've had before because of some of this enhancement. Also, when we talk about two-way, no longer is the sensor sending the signal to the panel, which is one way. Now we have the panel having the ability to actually reach out to the sensor and talk to the sensor. Here's an example that has been given at this point. Let's say that a particular sensor sends a low battery signal to the panel. Well, that can go to ADT so that ADT can alert you that you've got a low battery. But because of this two-way encryption, ADT can go ahead and say, hey, panel, why don't you check in with all the sensors and see what the status of the battery is on all the sensors? Because we've got some other sensors that need battery or are going to need a battery change shortly. Let's go ahead and get a report on the whole thing. So this is just some of the intelligence. The actual sensor itself has got some of the intelligence now with this two-way encryption. So that's a big difference. Now, we're going to talk about two panels. First is the 7-inch touchscreen panel, which is the self-contained unit. And then we're also going to talk, which is the one we use primarily, but we're also going to talk in a minute about the hybrid panel. Here are some of the bullet points about features of the command panel. First of all, you're going to be able to handle 250 sensors. It's a robust panel. It has 128 wireless zones, 232 Z-Wave devices. Now, the only limitations I am aware of is that thermostats have to be limited to 5. I mean, good luck, right? How many people got more than 5 thermostats? And electronic locks are limited at 5. But pretty much everything else is wide open. So this panel is beefy. There's not going to be a reason to have to upgrade if you add more and more things, because let's face it, with Z-Wave devices, new things are being developed constantly. So again, the panel has got a tremendous upside in terms of capacity. I mentioned to you about the distance for communication between the panel and the security sensors. It's two and a half times greater than any other ADT system that's been out there before. They claim a 1,000-foot line of sight capacity. Now, you and I both know that in a home, we don't have line of sight. We've got walls, we got stairways, we got metal beams. So again, if it was line of sight, it would cover 1,000 feet. Mostly what I'm seeing on the sensors is about 300 feet, which is generally much greater than what we've been accustomed to. Normally between 150 and 200 feet is what we've been accustomed to. So we're getting almost twice what we used to get in terms of in the home distance of the sensors, back to the panel. And this is really important when you get into commercial for the small businesses as well, because this panel, both of these panels, the hybrid and the command touchscreen, both are rated for commercial use. And so we also gives us a lot of, that range is going to be very helpful for those of you who sell small businesses. Now, one of the features that you're going to like about this 7-inch touchscreen is that it has a built-in front-facing camera that will take a disarm snapshot. So whenever somebody disarms the system at the panel, it's going to snap a picture, and that'll go into the history. Okay? And so that allows you to see who's disarming the system. It has a speaker microphone built in for two-way voice verification to the customer monitoring center and to Amazon Alexa voice systems. So it literally has built-in Amazon Echo hardware. So you'll be able to control your system by voice just like you would with your Amazon, Echo or Dot. One of the things that I have not personally seen, but Johnny was telling us about last week, is that anything you want to know how to do, you can just go right to the panel, and it has an onboard library of help videos. And so you can just pull up help videos. If you want to know how to set up a rule, just pull up just type in rules. It'll pull up a help video for you. Right there on the panel, you can view those videos. So it makes it very easy for customers to get support right there at their panel. Now this next one, partitions, it has 3 partitions which will support interior access control for residential locks. Many of you have been in the business for a while, you know about partitions. Basically, let me give you an example of a partition. Let's suppose that we're going to put a system in the house, but let's say that the homeowner, they have a home office and they want to be able to put a secondary keypad at the home office, right there at the door to the home office, and they want to be able to arm the office unique or separate to arming the house. So maybe the system, they've disarmed the system, but they want to arm the office. So it gives you the ability to partition off certain areas with an extra keypad so that you can lock something down. Johnny gave us an example last week of doing that with a gun cabinet, or a wine cellar, where you could put a keypad there and you would have to use a separate keypad. That would be armed all the time and be separate from arming of the entire house. So partitions is something that is a big feature for a lot of people, and we'll be learning more about that, I'm sure, as we go forward. I'm going to take a break here for a second, and get a drink of water. David, you want to add anything to the partition idea there?
No, I mean, you did a fabulous job on explaining this. I actually just left a application where I was going to call in and figure out how to do this. Where I have two buildings, existing alarm with two buildings. They want one alarm, so this will be my first partition installation. So I was actually going to call in after this and figure out.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's great. That's a great example. But in the past, we've had to basically sell the customer two systems. Now we can sell them one system, one monitoring, but we can actually set up partitions for separate areas. And this might also come in handy in some business settings as well. Okay, now the hybrid panel, and I'm going to show you pictures of both of these in a second, but the hybrid panel would probably be one that you would use in a situation where you might be taking over an existing wired system where there's recessed contacts, the wire is in the wall. In the past, we would have used a Vista series to do this. We do have the hybrid panel where you can put the panel in the closet. The keypad is separate. A couple of the feature sets on this, it's control app compatible for remote arming, disarming, and doing all the things that we know you can do. It has 128 wireless zones, 232 Z-Waves devices, and 8 hardwired zones. Again, has a one-way wireless takeover module for customers who want to use existing intrusion peripherals. So that would be like those existing, recessed contacts that may already be there. It does have a built-in sounder output, but there's no onboard siren on the hybrid. So you would have to add the additional wireless interior siren. And again, it also supports the partitions. So a lot of the similar feature sets. Now here's a picture. Hope this comes out clear for you, but here's a picture that of what the 7-inch command panel looks like. Sleek, modern design that fits into any decor. It's a very nice upgraded look. It's an all-inclusive solution. So, again, the panel and the keypad are all in one. Again, we talked about some of these things. Got the onboard Z-Wave Wi-Fi module, the radio. We talked about the built-in voice control, geo services, photo disarm, and then the ability to receive the over-the-air updates and remote assistance if the customer needs it. So that's what that looks like. And I think you're going to really like it. I think your customers are going to love the look of it on their wall. This is a picture of the hybrid panel, which, again, a hybrid panel, the control box. There's a picture up here at the top where you see, with the brains inside. And that right there is a picture of the wired keypad. There's also a wireless keypad. There's a touch screen keypad. So there's some optional keypads that come with this system. Let's talk about some of the sensors. Door, window, wireless contact. Not much different. I mean, it looks a little bit different. The design's a little bit different. It's the first fully encrypted bi-directional wireless door window contact. So it has the intelligence in there to be able to not only communicate with the panel one way, but also for the panel to communicate with it, making it full two-way. Up to 300 feet of wireless range compared to the 200 feet. We talked about that. It's got a battery in there that has an expected lifespan of about 5 years, and it is replaceable by the user. And of course, it's got tamper alerts, low battery, RF signal strength, all available within the sensor. So again, not a lot different. I mean, sensors are sensors. I think the biggest thing is that they're bi-directional, longer range. I think those would be the two things. And of course, the 6 technology, which makes them more secure. Here's the motion detector, pet immune to 80 pounds like what we're used to. Here's a feature on the motion detector that's neat. It will only activate when the system alarms, and that helps significantly extend the battery life, which is typically 5 years. You know, most of the motion sensors we're familiar with, when you walk in front of them, even when the system's not armed, you know, they're going to have to reset, right? And you'll see that on your history log, you'll see it detects motion. So that takes a toll on the battery life. This particular one here will only activate when the system alarms. It has a 300-foot transmission range, again, like all the six sensors. And the detection pattern's a little bit bigger than what we've been used to, 40 foot by 56 feet. Go online if you want to see that, see the sketch of that, but basically you're talking about 40 feet away from the sensor, and at its farthest point, it's a 56 from end to end. So it's a little bit bigger detection pattern with this particular motion. 4-button key fob wireless remote. A couple of features that are new about this. It's got bi-directional LED lights and a built-in sounder. So it will basically give you feedback when you're outside the house and you're arming or disarming. You'll get both lights. You'll get a blinking LED as well as a sounder to let you know that, you know, to give you the confirmation, which is a nice feature. It's got up to 8 programmable commands, up to 300 feet, whereas with the previous one, we've always said 100 feet. So this gives you a little bit more range. And again, user replaceable lithium batteries. So that's got a little bit of a newer, more modern look too, I think. This is a new device, combination smoke, CO, and heat detector. So this is a combo detector. It has voice notification. So it will tell you what type of an event. Is it heat? Is it smoke? Is it CO? It also has a LED visual alert that will have that will light up. And of course it uses the same photoelectric technology that we're used to. Again, one of the things that I've learned about this detector is it uses the combination of the 3 technologies to try to reduce false alarms as well. So you get a more accurate, less likely to have a false alarm type situation. It's also designed to detect those slow smoldering fires, which makes it a great complement to the smoke detectors most people already have in their homes. Okay, but this is a new device in that it's a combo. Glass break detector, 25-foot radius of protection, 300-foot transmission range, so a little bit more range, a little more protection than what we have now. Your indoor siren. This is a fully wireless indoor siren. Has a chiming capability, LED confirmation, and it also has a fully volume adjustable to it, and it's fully battery powered. So this would work well with the hybrid, or if people are looking for a second interior siren they want to put in their house, full wireless capability. This is the Z-Wave thermostat. A couple things about it. You can manage settings with the automated schedules and easy rules. So that's kind of something we've come to be accustomed to. Can be configured to automatically set back when the system is armed away. So it's got the intelligence that when you're arming the system away, even if you have overridden the control, it will put it back on its schedule. It can be configured to pause if smoke or carbon monoxide are detected, so that it can limit the circulation of fumes. And it also, you can enable a local lockout so that, only you can adjust it. Makes it so others can't adjust it. So there's a couple of feature sets of it. Good looking thermostat. Shock sensor, again, I didn't put any bullet points here, but again, like the shock sensors we have now, this just gives you a little bit more range. There is a regular smoke detector in addition to the command, in addition to the combination smoke detector we talked about. The Skybell doorbell camera. greater control through the single app because it's going to be, working through the control app as opposed to, what we've had in the past. On-demand video and recorded clips. It has a 180-degree view, auto scaling, full color, two-way audio, motion sensor. It's got night vision, and then the silent mode. Which, David, if I'm not mistaken, silent mode hasn't been available on the other doorbell cameras we used, has it?
No, not at all.
So that's an upgrade there, is that we now have the silent mode. We have a Surcom outdoor camera. It's a new version, pretty much similar to what you're used to, except for we got a little bit wider viewing angle. And the other thing that we're going to get with both our indoor and our outdoor camera is called video analytics. And this allows you to reduce false motion events. I'm gonna open up the control app here in just a minute and show this to you. But basically, think about this: if you have an outdoor camera and you have it pointed at the driveway currently, and you got motion, if you think about the motion from cars going up and down the street, that's going to constantly be forcing your camera to take video clips or still images, however you have that set up. Well, with video analytics, you're going to be able to actually go into that camera's viewfinder, draw a box, actually draw 3 boxes if you want it, and limit what it is that's going to be that the motion will respond to. So you can reduce the trigger point to just what you want to see. So you can draw a box around your driveway so that it's only your driveway that's going to trigger the motion, not the cars going up and down the street. So this is going to help reduce the number of clips, because with command and control, you're going to have a limit to the number of clips that you're going to be given. And so this is going to be really good. David, you were kind of excited about the video analytics. I mean, any other points you'd want to make about use case there?
Yeah, I was excited about it. I've used it, and we actually installed it in a sales rep's home. I made it on the box. There's zero not to do on the driveway, and that night the sales rep pulls in straight forward. While I have the box on the driveway itself, he left his car open, and on to the left of the box, where the passenger doors were, not in the box. So actually, we got no clip of opening his car door and taking the stuff out of his car, because I didn't make the box overflow into like the grass on the sides.
Right.
We missed the braking in his own car. So live and learn on that one. But yeah, it's pretty awesome what we can do.
Yeah, so David was cutting in and out on us a little bit here, but he told me the story yesterday, so let me just kind of recap that real quick. He drew a box around the driveway, but he forgot to draw, to extend it over into the grass, and so somebody kind of came into the car from the passenger side, which was on the side of the driveway, and it didn't trigger. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a learning process for us, but it's awesome what we can do with it. And I'm going to show that to you here in just a couple minutes. So the indoor camera, same thing. It has that same video analytics. The indoor camera's got a little bit more viewing angle than what we're accustomed to. And I think both the indoor and the outdoor, a little bit higher quality. The 720 HD resolution is a little bit higher quality. And so I think you'll like that about both of those. Now, this is the mobile app here that you can see in this picture here. But what I want to do is I want to take us to the web, and give me just 1 second here. I'm going to bear with me just 1 second. I'm going to open up and by the way, that demo app, this is that URL. You can go to that URL and use this user ID and password, and you can get into it as well. You can also download the free control app off of wherever you download your apps. You can download the free app, and you can also use that user ID and password to play around with it there as well. And I really, really encourage everybody to do that. Give me 1 second here. I'm opening up the, give me 1 second. I'm just about there. I'm gonna pull the, Ann, can you see my, screen?
I sure can.
Okay, so here's the, I just logged into the demo. I just logged into the URL using the demo. And this will give you a chance to see what the dashboard looks like. Again, there's so much here. I'm just not going to, bore you by going through every feature here, but there's a lot of stuff here. Statuses on the status of the front door, the side door, the garage door, status on the panel right there across the top. You've got things like recent activity. You got, the lighting control. I mean, the dashboard is such an improvement over what we're used to with our Pulse. I'm going to go to the video over here on the slides here. Bear with me 1 second. You go to the video and let's pull up some video, some demo video. And I want to show you this, the video analytics we've been talking about. So here's a great example right here. This front dining room. Let's see, I can expand that. Front dining room. So here's a good example. We're seeing the live video here, but let's talk about using the video analytics. So if I go down here to the settings, I can choose a lot of different things here, but I'm going to choose video motion detection. And what this does, I've already played around with it, but let's see, how can I back this up? Well, okay, so you see we already got the boxes. Well, in this picture here, what you've got is a room, but you've got this window here, and so you got cars that are going by, which would trigger clips if I was just to use the camera this way. I'm gonna click over to number 1 here. Let's see if I can get it to work here. 1, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this box here just below the window, and I'm going to drop that down. Like that. And so now what I've got is I've got the ability to catch everything in that room. Anytime there's movement in that room, I can catch it. I can trigger my video clip, but those cars going by through the windows up there, that won't trigger it. And that's kind of the point of what you want to do here. Let's go back to, hopefully that makes sense to you. Depending on what you're looking at, I think that's probably the most applicable picture. Well, here's another example here. This picture we have down here of the street here. Again, all this motion on the street is going to be triggering video clips, the way I've got that camera set up. So the way to avoid that, again, I just click on my settings. I go to video motion detection. It's going to pull up that camera, and what we're going to do is we're going to, I'll just go here to box number 1. We could literally draw a series of boxes. Like we can make this the first box. We go to the second box. We get started maybe here on the sidewalk. And then we could do maybe a third box. Like that. And so now what we've got is we got the ability to get motion triggered only when they get on my property, not when a car goes down the street. And that's a huge upgrade for us. David, any on the video, I mean, you've been playing around with this as well. Anything on the video controls there outside of that that struck you when you've been playing around with this?
Can you hear me okay on this?
Do what?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're kind of in and out. Just take a shot at it.
Communicate okay. The sensitivity on each box is a really awesome feature as well. So you can make it less sensitive or more sensitive.
And what does that mean, David, when you say less sensitive or more sensitive?
Well, it's supposed to be, obviously less. If you have some critters or a tree that's blowing in the wind in that box, from what I understand, it's supposed to, if you have it on super sensitive, it's going to pick up every time the wind blows. But if you turn it down, it should reduce the clips on like a tree blowing in that box.
Okay, gotcha. And so what he's talking about is back here on the video, you notice there's a sensitivity scale here from most sensitive, which would be a 5, down to, or 10, down to least sensitive 1. So it gives you the ability to really hone in. Also, there's a target size, and this reflects the percentage of the motion detection window that must detect motion in order for a clip to be triggered. Setting a small target size will allow smaller items to trigger recordings and will result in more motion-triggered clips. So we can also use that target size, David, as well as the sensitivity, as well as the video motion detection to really home in on what we want to catch now, which is something we've never been able to do. Mm-hmm. Also, while you're in the command, this is where you would set up like your automations for different things that you might want to, extreme temperature, energy saving, fire safety, smart away. Here's just some examples of some different things that you might want to set up automations. Here's where you would also go to do your notifications, arming reminders, all the different things. Your activity log is going to be here as well. I noticed that one of the things that you get with this is reports, where you can actually set up reports and have them come to you. You can have those be emailed to you. You can set up different types right here, new reports. Heating and cooling health report shows a monthly heating and cooling usage analysis with runtime statistics. So we're talking about a lot of really neat automation that we've never been able to use. The user settings is where you're going to go in to set up things like I believe this is where you set up your geolocations. Under actions, let's see, nope, that's under settings, excuse me. Settings is where you're going to go in to set up your geo services, and this is a pretty cool picture here. What you've got here's home. You can set up as many fences as you want, but this guy set up, or this homeowner has set up a fence called home, and it's a 2-mile radius. You see how adjustable it is. It's a 2-mile radius around their home. And what would happen is they would basically take all the phones of all the people who live here, and they would register them, and then they would connect them to this geo fence. And so then you can set up rules that, when nobody's phone is in this geo fence, I want to turn all my lights off. Or when nobody's phone's here, I want to turn the thermostat to kind of to the energy saving setting, as an example. By the same token, anytime somebody comes within the geo fence, go ahead and readjust the thermostat. Go ahead and turn on some lights. Disarm the system. Whatever you want to do. You can also set up a fence for your office so that anytime you're at your office, certain things happen, and when you leave your office, that automatically triggers certain events back at your home or your kids at school. Like if you want to be notified when they leave school, that's kind of neat. You can set up a fence for your kids, so as long as they're within that fence, once they leave, you get a notification on that. So the geo services is a huge area that I'm sure we're going to learn more and more about how we can use that. But anyway, that's where you would set all that up right here. Okay. Let's go back to
Hey,
our
Joe.
slides.
Joe, one more
Yeah.
thing before you left that, just on the video, two awesome features where you can take it down to 1 minute delays in between clips from 4 that we're usually right now we're at 3 to 4 minutes between clips on Pulse. So in that video, without being on it, I can't remember where the heck it's at, but right there.
It's right here at the top. Right here at the top, I think, recording rules.
You can take it down to 1 minute, and then also if you're in a situation where you have multiple cameras on site and you're having a connection issue, even on your personal house, you can reduce the resolution on certain cameras so the other cameras so they all work at one time. So if the Wi-Fi is limited, you can bring resolution down on all of them or some of them and kind of calibrate it so they all work at the same time.
Yeah, I can't quite find where that is. I've seen it, but it's in here somewhere. But yeah, folks, one of the things Dave and I both agree with is that you can geek out on this stuff, man. I mean, it is so many levels. It's just so much more than what we're accustomed to with Pulse in terms of the ability to customize what you're doing. So one thing I want everybody to do is make sure that you go download the free control app. Take this user ID and password, these credentials, and go in and play around with the mobile version, and then go on the web version and play around with that, because the demo sites are awesome. And I think you'll be using the demo sites when you're doing demos. They're so much more robust than what we had with Pulse. So, okay. Couple other things I want to talk about here. Looking at ADT's sales playbook, and I thought this was pretty good. They would say that when you're dealing with customers today, particularly with our smart home systems, there's two very broad categories that they would say to put people in. One is what they refer to as next gen Shelby, who's the smart protector. The other is Gene, the anxious believer. And this is probably more of a generational divide. You've got, more of your younger millennials as opposed to people who might be, your more mature, old school people, I guess is a way of thinking about it. And so just from a standpoint of how we sell these services, a couple of things here about the next gen Shelby. She's a tech forward thinker, but she needs to be convinced she needs professional monitoring. So that's one of the big things, is they're not sure they need monitoring. And so that has to be part of what we do with them. Listen, their phone is the hub of their life. So talking to them about apps, they're there. You don't have to worry about that. We have to change their category brand perception. One of the things that I think ADT has come face to face with is, people tend to think of ADT as being an older company. And so many of the younger people are going to need to have that brand change perception. In order, you're going to have to convince them this is not their parents' ADT. ADT is now really entered into the smart home space, and we have to convince them of that. Demonstrate they can have the control, connectivity, and technology they like, plus the added security their family needs. They're not as security conscious. They're more driven by the technology, the connectivity, and the control. And so just keep that in mind as we're sizing people up to make our presentation. Now, the flip side is, again, a little bit older demographic. They're more interested in safety, right? I mean, they understand security. However, they're a little bit less comfortable with the automation technology. And so you're going to need to understand that when you're selling to them. They want to put responsibility for the installation and the monitoring in the hands of the expert. Good news, they're not going to be swayed by the DIY, right? That's just not for them. They understand, and if you watched any of the Property Brothers commercials, one of the focuses there is all the bad things that can happen when you try to do stuff yourself, right? And so this particular segment of the population, they don't need as much help with that. They get that. Smart home resonates well with them because it makes them feel smart. So if you can help them feel like they're keeping up with the times and keeping up with technology, listen, I'm telling you, this platform is so simple to use. It's so intuitive that, even people who are not real technology people, it's going to make sense to them. We also need to be careful about too many options. That can cause paralysis with this particular segment. So those are a couple bullet points I put in here that I think are appropriate as we're moving more and more into the automation and the smart space. Just to remember that there's at least two different type prospects we're dealing with, and make sure that we're catering presentations around that. We don't have the pricing for you, but we assume it's going to be very similar. There'll be 5 different monitoring plans residentially, traditional, which will be what we refer to today as cellular. There will not be a landline option with these programs. We will still keep L5000s and Vista 15s in stock for those situations where you don't have enough cellular reception that you've got to do a landline. We'll have to always keep something like that around. This will only work cellular, okay? But this is what would be typically your cell only. Now, one thing you're going to like about the plans is two-way voice is on board with everything. There's no additional cost for two-way voice. So this would be, everything has two-way voice enabled. So traditional is your cellular only. Remote would be what we refer to today as Pulse 1, where you have you have the security system. You don't have any of the video or the home control, but you do have the ability to do the remote interactivity. Okay, and so that's what we refer to as remote going forward. Control would be what we refer to today as a Pulse 2 home control. This is where you have the automation devices but no video. Video Lite, this is our Pulse 2 video, where you don't have automation devices, just video. Video Lite will be up to 8 cameras and 6,000 clips per month. Okay, so that's what you're going to get with Video Lite, up to 8 cameras and 6,000 clips per month. And so that's why that motion detection on your cameras becomes an issue, so that you don't have something pointed at the street and you eat up your 6,000 clips before you know it. Now, somebody's going to ask the question, can you buy a add-on package of clips? And the answer is yes. Don't know anything on the pricing, but you can add service bundles, so you can add more clips if you feel like you need them. And then the final would be what we refer to today as Pulse 3. We'll just call that pure video, and that will be all of your video and your automation. So going forward, these will be the words we use with command and control: traditional, remote, control, Video Lite, and video. Okay, so that'd be what these will be referred to. Again, we don't know the activation fees or the monthly monitoring. We think they'll be relatively the same, but we're going to get that information to you as soon as we have it. Now, on the small business, you'll also have 5, which will be very similar. You'll have 5 service levels there. Traditional, which again, cellular only. You'll have something referred to as premise remote. Again, it's like our Pulse 1. You'll have premise control. That's your control devices, no video. You'll have enterprise view, which will be just video with no automation. And with enterprise view, you can have up to 40 cameras and 46,000 clips per month. And then you'll have total productivity, which is both your video and your automation. Okay, so those will be the packages when we come out. Well, I see that we're coming up on the top of the hour. Ann, anything you want to add to anything we've talked about today?
Oh yeah, my phone's blowing up, Joe, with a lot of dealers, and we can just sense the enthusiasm. Everyone's like, this is so freaking cool. I didn't know that Alarm.com was going to be ADT branded, so a lot of exciting things. I think that it's really clear that ADT alongside Resideo has really stepped up the game in terms of equipment. I don't think there's a single competitor out there that's going to be able to hold a flame against everything that we're pushing out. So very excited to get this out. I just want to just kind of say 2 things here, Joe, as we go through this. The first is that I think everybody will agree Joe Kinney has done an amazing job putting together this presentation and covering all of the features and benefits of the product and getting us kind of 101 training on some of the new command and control. But this is really phase 1 of the training itself. There's going to be so much more that we're going to be getting out to you guys. Residio and ADT will be present at the upcoming convention, will be available for questions. And then Residio, alongside SafeStreets, is also going to be doing in-person trainings in select markets across the country. Right now we're targeting 8 major markets and have looked at where the majority of our dealers are located and can easily get to. So we'll be doing those in-person trainings, which will be very thorough. So this is a great start, but we will be getting to a lot more information. Every single market that we have is scheduled to be fully on command and control by June 1st. So over the next 45 days as we work through this transition, we appreciate everyone being patient with us. No easy undertaking by our operations department to do such a large launch nationwide. So again, just bear with us. We appreciate everyone's patience, and we're looking forward to making this a nationwide launch. It's incredible.
So we will, David, anything else you want to add? David, I probably didn't give you enough time today, but anything else you want to add?
I think that's impossible, Joe. You did a fabulous job. You covered everything. Thank you.
David was really here in case somebody asked a question. I knew what I needed to say. I just didn't know how to answer any questions. So, David, thanks for being there to back me up. Okay, so here's the plan. Our plan would be to see if we can get this up on a YouTube video so that if you want to share it with anybody, again, we will get a more polished presentation as time goes along. But I think this at least gives you a good introduction, as Ann pointed out. We appreciate everybody being here, and we look forward to seeing you again Thursday at noon next week. And do we know who's going to be our guest next week?
Tentatively, Paul Croft, our CFO, is going to be joining us for the second time, but the first time this year. I know he has some things that he's worked with a handful of our dealers on and has really pulled out some great helpful tips on managing your business from a financial standpoint. So I know he wants to cover a couple of those things. So tentatively, yes, we've got him scheduled for next Thursday.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.
Thanks, Joe.